Hello, this is Kirsten Davidson from Zopi Designs. I'm here today to show you our new DIY shell kit and to walk you through the process of making your own DIY shell ring dish. I've got a couple different examples here, and we'll be running through turning this into one of these. This is the kit itself. These will be making their debut at the Rockland Saturday market. The first one coming up June 7th, this coming Saturday. It's supposed to be a little bit wet, but hopefully people will still be there. Probably people are going to be seeing this afterwards, hopefully with all their brand new kits. But what you get when you get into this is you get a step-by-step guide walking you through each step of how to create your shell ring dish. The Mod Podge, small thing of Mod Podge that you'll be using. The gold paint to paint around the edges if you would like to do so. Sponge and paintbrush that we'll be using later on in the process. And you also have two different colored options for tissue paper. And this should be enough to do at least one large shell, if not two. So you should actually be able to do at the very, very least 2 shells with this kit. I would even say you could probably get at least 4, depending on the size of your shells. A lot of the bigger dishes that I do are these larger hen clams that there's quite a few beaches around Maine that you should be lucky enough to find some of these. They might not be quite this size, but they should be pretty close. We also have quite a few beaches where you can find some of these smaller clam shells. There are some beaches where you are able to find some oyster shells. This is one of the smaller size ones that I've been able to find. I didn't bring out any of my bigger oyster shells, but there are definitely beaches where it is possible to find those. So we'll get started. So this is the clamshell that I'm going to be using today. I'm just going to point us down a little bit so you can see the workspace. We're going to get our Mod Podge open, and you can hear my rooster. Okay. So, you want to put a little bit of your Mod Podge into a separate dish. Just for purposes today, I'm going to be using another shell for that dish. Put a little bit more into there. So, first step is we're going to use our sponge brush and coat the inside of our shell thoroughly. We want a nice even coat all the way through. Make sure it's nice and even. Okay, we'll set down our Mod Podge brush, and this is the paper that I'm going to be using today. And if you have a much smaller shell, one thing you can do before you start laying your paper in is actually rip out the piece you want to use, or cut it out. This can be personal preference. Personally, I like the look of the ripped edges. They don't look quite as abrupt as the cut pieces, but we're gonna go ahead and just use the piece as it is. So for the clamshells, the easiest way to start is to place the edge of your paper right up in the hinge of your clam, and start there and gently press it in and go out. And make sure you're gonna end up with some wrinkles, but where I have a lot of white space with this paper, that's okay. We can try and get some of the wrinkles in the white space so you're not noticing them quite as much. Kind of press it in, press the paper in gently so that it's sticking against the shell, sticking against your first layer of Mod Podge. Gently pressing it. Okay, and you might still have some places where it didn't stick down. It's pretty hot outside today here in Maine. It's one of our hotter days so far, so my Mod Podge has dried pretty quickly on the shell. So I have some places that are definitely not sticking, but that's okay because we've only done one layer so far. So now we're gonna go in with a second layer over the paper, and that's gonna help the paper really start to stick down. And we wanna do this one nice and gently, because this is when the paper can really start to rip. And if you're noticing any pulling, that's when you want to just kind of start dabbing in there. Make sure that all of those nooks and crannies, especially up by the hinge of the shell, are sticking. Try and get it right around. And once you've got it really down in the middle, focus on the edges and get it rounded off around the edges of your shell. So you've really got it sticking. There. Once you've got a good look there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start gently ripping around the edges to get that paper right off. You can see it's coming right off, especially the wet part. Start right around. Yep. And then just smooth out those edges over the edge of your shell. And if you have any pieces that are still kind of sticking up, go right back over them again. As you need to. You can see. Yep. But our paper is all set, all in place. Now we let this dry for about 24 hours to get it really set in there. And then the next step is optional. You can take your gold paint and create the rim around the edge if that's something that you'd like to do. Definitely optional. Kind of get a nice crisp edge around, even paint the full back like I've done on this one. But that's totally up to you. And that's all there is to it. Yeah,